Rita, take your load. You have no place here anymore.
Oh, please.
My son is gone. You killed him, evil wife.
Mama, please. I can't kill my husband, please.
Who is your mama? Leave now. You and your cursed child.
Mommy, Grandma did not want us.
Shh, it's okay, my love. We will survive.
Mommy, I'm cold. I'm hungry.
I'm sorry, son. We'll find food when this rain stops. Just sleep a little.
Hey, careful with that.
But it's fun, Mama.
You'll get us all wet.
Woman, don't you think washing in this hot sun is not good for you? Yes, it's not, but I must. For my son, just be careful. For your health. Thank you.
Madam, these are the remaining clothes. Be fast. You're too slow, Seth. Please, I'm sorry, ma. We'll be faster.
Mommy, well done.
Thank you, my son. Repeat after me, Alex. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Very good, my son. We may have nothing, but you will be everything one day.
Mommy, are we going to be hungry like this always?
No, my son. Not forever. One day you will eat well. You will sleep warm. Mommy promises.
Okay, Mommy. Mommy, stand up! Wake up, Mommy!
Sadiq, I can't.
Madam, are you okay? Someone help!
Save my son, Q.
I don't know.
The rain that night did not care about anyone. On that lonely road outside the city, it fell on a woman named Rita and the little boy kneeling beside her. He couldn't have been more than 3 years old. His small hands pressed against her shoulder, shaking her the way children shake their mothers when they believe love alone can wake the dead. "Mommy, wake up. Please wake up." But she didn't move. Cars passed. Headlights swept across them and then disappeared back into the dark. No one stopped. No one looked twice at a woman collapsed on the side of the road with a child beside her. That's the world Rita had always lived in, one where people looked and kept moving. Rita had always told herself she was strong enough. She told herself her son would never see her cry. For some time, she kept both promises. She cleaned offices before sunrise. She washes clothes on weekends. She sold boiled groundnuts on market days when rent was overdue. Her son, Emeka, watched all of it. He watched her mother eat last so he could eat first. He watched her wear the same dress over and over again. And he stored every single image of her sacrifice in a place inside him that would never forget. But bodies have limits that willpower cannot override. On the night of the rain, Rita's body reached its limit. Mr. Obiora, a 41-year-old, was driving home from a business meeting that had run too late. He almost didn't stop. His headlights caught the shape of the child first, a small figure on his knees in the rain, and something in his chest refused to let his foot stay on the accelerator. He pulled over. "What happened here?" he asked, kneeling beside Rita. The boy looked up at him with eyes that had been crying so long they had gone past tears. "My mommy won't wake up." Obiora carried her to his car. He drove to the nearest hospital. He paid the deposit without being asked. He sat in the hallway and waited. While Rita was being stabilized, a nurse handed him her small purse. "We need an emergency contact. Can you check inside?" He opened it carefully. Inside, a folded 10 naira note, a small photograph of the boy laughing, and beneath that, old documents, marriage papers, a birth certificate, family records, and an address. Obiora stared at the name on the marriage certificate for a long time. Immediately, he left the hospital and drove to the address. It was a large compound, the kind that suggested the family had once known dignity. An elderly woman opened the gate. "Excuse me," Obiora began carefully. "Do you know a woman named Rita?" The old woman's face did not soften. It hardened, as though the name itself was something dirty. "I don't know anyone like that," she said, and shut the gate. Obiora stood there confused. This woman was clearly the grandmother of the little boy he had left at the hospital, because he could see the resemblance already. He tried again. He told her a woman was in the hospital, that her life had been in danger, that a child was asking for a family. "I have no family like that," she repeated, and walked away. But a woman sitting in the compound, a neighbor, a friend of the family, looked at Obiora with pity in her eyes and then turned to the grandmother. "Why are you lying?" She raised her voice to the old woman. "You chased that poor woman out with her baby. Now you pretend she doesn't exist?" The grandmother stopped walking. She turned slowly. "Yes," she said, her voice like gravel. "I sent her away. My foolish son refused to listen to me and married her anyway. Now my son is dead, and I want nothing to do with that woman or that so-called grandson." "But Mama," the friend said quietly, "that boy is your only grandson. Who will take care of you when your bones are tired? You are pushing away the only family you have left." The grandmother walked inside without another word. Obiora stood there for a moment longer. Then he turned around, got in his car, and drove back to the hospital. And he made a decision that would change everything. A few days later, Rita was discharged with nowhere to go. Obiora decided to bring her into this house while she fully recovered. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Obiora had been a widower for 9 years. His wife had died in the delivery room, a tragedy that took the baby with her. His house had been quiet since then, organized, lonely in ways no visitor could see. But with Ene and Emeka's presence, he felt a change and wouldn't mind where this would lead him. He began helping Rita the way people help when guilt and kindness can no longer be separated. He paid Emeka's school fees for the first term. Just the first term, he told himself. But the boy had a way of looking at him. Steady, watchful, like someone who had learned not to trust kindness too quickly, because kindness could disappear. And something in that look broke Obiora open in ways he hadn't been prepared for. He began to love the boy. And slowly, carefully, he began to love the boy's mother too. One day, Obiora went to his own mother and told her he wanted to marry again, that the woman was a widow with a son. The old woman put down her teacup and looked at him the way mothers look when they've already decided. "She is a single mother," she said. "You would bring another man's child into this house to inherit what your father built? Obiora, I didn't raise you to be a fool." "Mama, no. Find someone suitable, someone without baggage." The word landed like a slap. Baggage. A 3-year-old boy who had shaken his unconscious mother in the rain was someone's baggage. Obiora said nothing more that evening. But he wouldn't stop loving and caring for these sweet souls in his life, with or without his mother's consent. He wouldn't stop paying school fees. He wouldn't stop showing up for them. And eventually, slowly, the way seasons change rather than break, his mother began to watch Rita. She watched her rise before everyone in the house when she visited. Watched her cook without being asked. Watched her speak to elders with both hands, the way children are taught before pride replaces manners. She watched her love her son fiercely, quietly, and without needing an audience. One afternoon, Obiora's mother called Rita into the room. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "You may not be what I imagined for my son, but you are more than I expected. Bring the boy to me." Emeka stood before his new grandmother with serious eyes, the same eyes that had once pleaded with a stranger to help his mother on a rainy road. She looked at him for a long time. Then she touched his face. "You have her strength," she said softly. "That's not nothing." The wedding was quiet, just family and a few friends. No grand reception, no borrowed celebration. Just a woman, a man, a boy, and the beginning of something that hadn't existed before. Emeka grew up in that house the way seeds grow through concrete. Not easily, but unstoppably. He studied because he had watched his mother study with fatigue every single day and refused to let it win. He was disciplined because he had seen what happened when plans failed and there was no backup. He was kind because he had once been on the receiving end of someone's unexpected kindness, and he knew in his bones what that meant. By the time he entered university, his stepfather, the man he now called Dad without hesitation, was beaming at graduation dinners like a man whose chest could barely contain what was inside it. By the time he finished medical school, his mother had finally stopped working before sunrise. She sat at his graduation with so much joy and fulfillment. She cried throughout the entire ceremony. He cried too. He didn't care who watched them. But life, as it always does, was about to place one final test before him. And this one would ask more of him than any exam he had ever sat. She was rushed in on a Tuesday. An ambulance had brought her in, found collapsed near a bus stop, malnourished, dehydrated, her clothes worn. The nurses noted she was in her mid-70s. No emergency contacts. The person who had accompanied her had slipped away before anyone could get a name. Dr. Emeka took her case. He treated her the way he treated every patient, with professionalism, with care, with the belief that a person's body deserved attention, regardless of the story attached to it. She recovered slowly. He visited her on ward rounds each morning. On the third day, he asked her, "Do you have family we can contact? Anyone we should call?" The old woman looked at the ceiling for a long time. "I have no family," she said. "My son died many years ago. I sent away the people who might have stayed." A pause. "I made choices I cannot unmake." Something in those words moved through Emeka like a cold current. He looked at her face, really looked. The deep-set eyes, the set of the jaw, the particular way the grief sat on her face like it had lived there so long it had become a feature. He wasn't certain, not yet. He didn't recognize her because he was so little when all that happened. He told himself it might be a coincidence, no new thing under heaven. He told himself there were thousands of old women in this city with stories of lost sons and broken families. That evening, he called his mother. "Mom," he said, "what was my father's mother's name, the one who sent you away?" The silence on the line was long. "Why are you asking me this? Please, don't reopen my wound. Just forget about it," Rita said carefully. "Just tell me, Mom." "No," she said firmly. He hung up the phone, sat very still in his office, and believed what he already told himself. She couldn't be the one. It's just a coincidence. Later that day when he got home, he asked his wife, patient, steady, good-hearted woman Florence, "I have an older patient who has nowhere to go. Please, can she stay with us, just for a while? She has nowhere to go. I'll arrange something, but for now." His wife looked at him for a moment. She knew her husband, knew the careful way he carried things. "No problem," she said. So he did. The old woman had been at the house for 4 days when Rita arrived. She had come from Enugu to visit her son, suitcase in hand, already calling his name before she was through the door. She stepped into the sitting room and froze. The old woman was sitting on the sofa, wearing one of the clothes Florence bought for her a few days ago, holding a cup of tea and watching a television program she likely didn't follow. Their eyes met. Rita didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. When she did, her voice was very quiet, which was far more frightening than if she had shouted. "Emeka, why is this woman in your house? Is that why you are asking about your grandmother?" Emeka came forward, steady, gentle. "Yes, Mom, she's my patient. She was brought in by strangers. She has nowhere." "She can never have anywhere," Rita's voice cracked, "because she gave us nowhere. When you were 3 years old, she sent us away. I was unconscious in the rain. In the hospital, she denied us. She gave us nothing." The old woman on the sofa set down her cup. She didn't defend herself. She didn't protest. She just looked at Rita with eyes that had seen too many years to pretend they didn't know what they had done. I want her out of this house this minute, now. And because this was her son's home and not a place where she could be overruled, the old woman rose slowly and walked out, without a word, without argument, with the resigned dignity of someone who had accepted that she had earned exactly this. Emeka and Florence could neither protest because of how they hold Rita in high esteem. The old woman had caused her own downfall. Days passed. On his way to work on a Thursday morning, Emeka slowed his car near the bottom of his street. There she was, sitting on the low wall beside the road. A thin plastic bag was at her feet. Her clothes were the same ones she had left in. She wasn't looking at anything in particular, just sitting, the way people sit when they have finally stopped expecting anything to change. Emeka sat in his car for a moment. He thought about a rainy road, a little boy, hands too small to wake anyone. He thought about the kind of man he had worked his entire life to become. Then he turned his car around and drove home. He found his mother in the kitchen. She knew the moment he walked in that something was coming. "She's at the end of the street," he said. Rita didn't look up from what she was doing. "That is not my concern, and it shouldn't be yours either." "Mom." He sat down beside her at the kitchen table, not across from her, but beside her, the way he had always sat when he needed her to really hear him. "I'm not asking you to forget what she did. I know what she did. I was there. Then you understand why I can't." "I understand why it's hard," he said. "But Mom, think about this honestly. If she had not sent us away that night, would you have been on that road?" Rita's hands stilled. "If you hadn't been on that road, would the man I called Dad today have stopped?" "If Dad hadn't stopped," he paused. "Let her hear it. You probably wouldn't have remarried. Would I be a doctor today? Even if I had been a doctor, would it have been this easy for you? Would you have raised me this way? Would I have been the person you raised me to be? Would we have had the life we had?" Silence. The kind of silence that is not empty but full of things shifting and rearranging themselves into shapes that hadn't existed before. "She hurt us," he said quietly. "That is true. I will never pretend otherwise. I'm not happy she did. But Mom, her cruelty sent us to Dad. And Dad became your husband and made me his son in every way that matters. The worst thing that happened to us led us to the best thing that happened to us. Sometimes that's just how God works. And sometimes we have to be bigger than the people who hurt us, not for their sake, but for ours." Rita looked at her son for a long time. The boy who had shaken her on a rainy road, the boy who had refused to become bitter, who had refused to let pain make him small. He thought about what it had cost him, not in theory but in reality, to become the man sitting beside her. The early mornings, the sacrifices, the long nights studying while other boys played. All of it was done so that one day he could look at the woman who had abandoned his mother on a cold night and choose mercy anyway. Tears fell. She didn't wipe them. After a long silence, she said 2 words. "Bring her back." The old woman didn't understand why he had come back for her. She stood at the end of the street and looked at him like someone who had stopped expecting to be chosen and was therefore frightened by the choice. "Come, let's go," was all he said. She didn't ask questions. Inside the house, Rita was standing in the sitting room. The 2 women looked at each other, the widow who had been cast out and the grandmother who had done the casting. 25 years had passed. Both of them were different women now, changed by time, changed by consequence. It was the old woman who spoke first. Her voice didn't shake, it was just very, very quiet. "I was wrong," she said. "I was proud and I was wrong, and I have lived long enough now to understand exactly what I threw away. I cannot give you back what I took, I know that, but I am asking, I'm not demanding, I am asking for the chance to be a presence in whatever time I have left in this family, your family." Rita said nothing for a moment. Then she looked at her son. He was watching her, not with pressure in his eyes, but with trust. Trust that she would choose the version of herself she had always been building towards. She exhaled slowly. "Sit down," she said to the old woman. And just like that, without fanfare, without ceremony, something that had been broken for decades quietly, carefully, began to mend. Not every person who hurts you is your enemy forever. And not every painful door that closes in your face is a punishment. Sometimes, and I know this is hard to believe when you're standing in the rain, when you're the child shaking a parent who won't wake up, or when you're the woman who has been told you don't belong somewhere, sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is carrying you directly towards the best thing. Rita didn't know on that cold road that a widower with a quiet house and a gentle heart was 20 minutes away. Emeka didn't know as a small boy with tear-streaked cheeks that the man who stopped would become the father figure who would shape everything. And that old grandmother, proud and wrong and too late, didn't know that the grandson she had dismissed would one day be the very doctor standing between her and the end. None of them knew. That's the thing about life. It doesn't explain itself while it's happening. It only makes sense looking back. So if you are in a painful chapter right now, if a door has just been slammed in your face, if someone you trusted has turned cold, or if you've been told you don't belong somewhere you wanted to stay, hear this. You don't know what's 20 minutes down the road. You don't know who stops for you next. Keep going. Stay soft enough to recognize kindness when it comes and become someone your pain made better, not someone your pain made bitter. Emeka did, and he changed everyone around him because of it. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs it today. And if you're new here, welcome. Hit subscribe because every week we bring you stories like this one. Real, raw, and deeply human. Until next time, have a great day.